All right, we're now joined by NC State head coach Kevin Keatts and Rick Bozich. I'll let you have the first question.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations from all the folks here in Louisville. Just wanted to ask two things. One, what has Rick Pitino meant to your career? And secondly, what did you gain from your time in Louisville and that Final Four run that's helped you this year?
Coach has been everything. I mean, he is obviously, I think he's the GOAT, and, what he's done in his career, and, how many assistant coaches that he's had that went on to be successful head coaches. I think it means a lot. And, the things, his preparation and how he prepares you for life when you get your own program. So I can't say enough about him and, my time spent with him in those 3 years. And those were, Final Four, going back to the Final Four that eventually won a national championship and Sweet 16s. I learned so much from him, and very grateful for the opportunity that he gave me in order for me to be a head coach going on to UNCW. Great experience. I mean, I was thinking last night how blessed I was, number one, to be going to my third Final Four, but it's even better knowing that you're leading the team to there as the head coach. Assistant coaches were great, great cutting the nets, but, getting the opportunity to lead your own program to the Final Four means a lot.
Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Kevin, after winning in D.C., some of the guys in the locker room jokingly started chanting 30 for 30. Now that you guys are in the Final Four, some think this could be a movie one day. If that happened, who plays Kevin Keatts in that movie?
Well, I know who I would love to play, but by the time they make the movie, it'll be too late. Hey man, Denzel Washington is the coolest dude ever. So maybe I got to pick somebody a little younger, but if he could play, if anybody could pull it off, it would be him. It would be definitely Denzel Washington. He'd be the great. You could always go back to a guy like Jamie Foxx, and have you seen the things on the internet about him acting like a football coach? I think that was great.
James Henderson, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, I know you mentioned last week having to navigate the transfer portal while doing all of this, and I know you can't mention specific players, but have you noticed the buzz that's been generated from some potential recruits based on what you guys are doing?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, James, that's the hardest thing that I've had to do. Obviously winning games is really hard. So let me make sure I clarify that, because people say, oh, hardest thing he's had to do. But trying to, balance scouting and, staying connected with my players and talking to them and trying to figure out, the transfer portal. I wish it wasn't going on at this time where we got, we're on a national stage. But I have seen some excitement through some voices that I've talked to. Obviously, I can't mention names, but I do think there is some folks taking notice of what we're doing.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Mark Berman, go ahead.
Afternoon, Kevin. Congratulations.
Hey, Mark.
Wanted to ask you, I guess, how did your years at Ferrum College kind of guide you down to the coaching path you're on now?
Well, I think I learned to survive. When you're playing at a really small college, and there's not a lot of national attention, and you're really playing the game for the love of the game and your commitment. And I think when you think about Ferrum and you think about Hargrave, those were two foundations that I would never pass up. They really prepared me just to hard work and, learning how to start at the grassroots levels, learning how to start at the bottom and, work your way up, and the, amount of hours you spend, doing the grunt work and not really getting paid for it. And it just humbles you, and it teaches you that you got to continue to work, and you put in the work that anything's completely possible. I'm a small college kid. I was, played at, Ferrum and a small town, and, had an opportunity to go to Hargrave in another small town. And I will never forget that, the hard work that we had to put in to get where I'm at right now. And so, working for a year under Bill Pullen, and obviously coaching under him, who's been at, he was just at our Sweet 16 and Elite 8 game, means a lot. And he was instrumental in, directing my career.
David Teal, go ahead.
Kevin, are there specific things from Louisville's 13 run? I think you guys won your last 16 games that season. As you watched Rick navigate, especially the 3 games at the Garden and then the 6-game run through the NCAA tournament, there are things you learned about managing a team through a stretch like that you have applied to this group?
Yeah, we had David, we had an incredible stretch there. And I remember Coach Pitino talking about we were going to go into the Big East and win the Big East, and we certainly did. The weird thing about it is this one is different than anything I've ever been around. We have, 9 elimination games. Once you think about that, we got, back then, obviously winning the Big East, you had to win 3, which was really good. We had a tough stretch that we had to go through. But winning 5 games starting on Tuesday as a number 10 seed and to go through the really good teams at the back end of it, if you lose any of those games, you don't go to the NCAA, including the championship probably. And then now, after that, you go on and you got 4 games, which we all know in the NCAA tournament, you lose a game, you go home. I don't know that I've ever seen a run that's similar to this. And I have to give all the credit to our players and how they stayed focused. And I don't know, it's hard to do when your back's against the wall. And anytime you lose, then, you're done with, especially in that ACC tournament. And so I think where there could be some similarities, I don't know that there are a lot of them because they're completely different. Our team back in 2013 was completely different in how they were motivated compared to the guys that we have today.
Noah Flashman, go ahead.
Going off of that, what's been the biggest thing you've learned just through the NCAA tournament portion of this run about your team and just these last 2 weeks that you've been on?
Well, what I've learned is we are completely locked in and focused. With the moment has not bothered us. And I know a lot of people was thinking, hey, when they get to this stage, there were a lot of folks that thought, winning the ACC would be enough. And people would be satisfied, but not in our locker room. Our locker room, our guys, when we got into the tournament before the even selection Sunday, all we thought about is, let's take one game at a time, but we wanted to come in and have a chance to compete for a national championship. And rarely do you see that. I mean, the way things, us winning the tournament, our guys could have been, relaxed a little bit. You play a great Texas Tech team, and then you get a team in Oakland who's hot, who just beat Kentucky, and to stay focused to finish that game. And then you go on and play a good Marquette team who's really good, who can beat anybody on any given night. And then, by the way, you face your opponent in Duke, who's really good, who was a rivalry game, and they were able to respond. So I think the biggest takeaways of that is our guys are locked in. They've responded to every different situation that we had. And not only have we responded, we've kind of got stronger each game.
Ben Keatts, go ahead.
Coach Ben Keatts, the Lynchburg News in Advance. I know that your hometown means a lot to you. Can you think of some experiences about growing up here that kind of shaped your life and shaped your coaching career?
Oh, I love Lynchburg. It's home for me. My parents still live there, my aunts, my cousins. I grew up on outdoor basketball courts, and I grew up when there were chain nets. And I grew up when on a Saturday or Sunday, you would play, the courts would be so packed that if you lost a game, you'd have to get in the car and try to go to another court to be able to get on there and play. And so I really got my toughness and foundation, from Lynchburg. And it's that place means a lot to me. And, I try to get back as much as I can. It's a little bit tougher, even though it's closer to me. But, playing, being a 2-sport guy in Lynchburg and playing football and basketball and juggling that and just the great folks that live there, it means a lot to me. But I want to say, if you look at one thing, I think the toughness came from Lynchburg, Virginia, and that's where, that's where it all started for me.
Dan Wolken, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, I was curious why you went back to Hargrave after you were at Marshall. And at that point in your career, did you have aspirations of, coaching at the, big time colleges, or were you content, at that level dealing with that side of the business?
Yeah, great question. I took, when I got the Hargrave job, I was there for 2 years and worked for a guy named Scott Shepard, who went on to be Pete Gillen's assistant at UVA. And I actually went into the headmaster at the time, the colonel, and told him I wanted the job. When Scott left, he didn't believe that. He's like, really? And so I said, yeah. And so he gave me the job, and I was there for 2 years. And I looked at the path that Scott had taken, and I said, you know what, if an opportunity came across, I would take it. And of course, I got a chance to work for a great guy in Greg White, who has also been a mentor to me in my life, and went to Marshall. And when I got to Marshall, towards the end of the second year, Greg and I talked, and I know it was an opportunity that he probably was going to leave. And it was weird because it came up at the same time. He talked about leaving. And I was thinking, hey, you know what? I kind of miss working with the guys at the grassroots level. And so I decided, talking to Greg, and he blessed it because I think he was going to leave anyway. I decided to come back to Hargrave. I got a great opportunity to come back. And I was there for 8 years, and I was content with not taking another job. My parents were 45 minutes up the road. For you guys who, Fletcher Aird was at Fork Union, and I was like, man, Fletcher Aird has been to Fork Union for 40 some years, and I'm gonna be the next Fletcher Aird. And then, fortunately, I got a call 8 years after that, and it changed everything. And that was to go to Louisville to be assistant coach, and kind of the rest becomes history. But I had no intent on getting back into college until I got a call from Rick Pitino, and, believe it or not, he sold me on the opportunity.
Rachel Brandon, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for doing this with ABC 13 in Lynchburg as well. Wanted to ask you, what's your message to kids watching you right now in the tournament coming from Lynchburg, showing that somebody from this small area can do this?
Yeah, I would say to stay true to your dreams. I was that young kid running around in Lynchburg that didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, had no clue what path I was going to take. But I had, parents who loved me, and I would say, listen to your parents, listen to the folks that's around you that are really positive influence. Try to keep a great reputation, and stay to your academics. If you can get involved with some type of activity after school, whether it's sports or anything else, stay locked into that, and try to make the best of everything you can. And dreams do come true, and mine came true. And I think any young person in Lynchburg can achieve and do even better than I'm doing right now. So that would be my message.
CL Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, kind of going back to Coach Pitino, why do you say, what is the formula that so many of his former assistants or players have been able to be successful as head coaches?
Well, first of all, CL, you've been around, man. He challenged you every day. There wasn't a day that I wasn't challenged. And I was challenged, and not only me, everybody in the office, to be not good, to be great. I think one of the main things that stood out to me was, when he hired me, he said, I don't hire assistant coaches, I hire future head coaches. And so I think the preparation, CL, we were in the office from 6 a.m. all the way to nighttime at all time, but we were prepared. And, what I learned is how to be organized, how to be prepared, how to run a program. And I will say this about Coach Pitino: he doesn't put you in a box. He doesn't bring you there just as a recruiter. He doesn't bring you there as just a scout guy. You have to do everything. And I think that's one of the biggest things that some coaches at his level who are Hall of Famers don't allow their staff to grow, and he allows you to grow.
Dash Ty Hurt, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I wanted to ask you about DJ Burns. He's obviously become a fan favorite. I believe you recruited him when he was transferring from Tennessee. Correct me if I'm wrong. What about him? Can you tell me a bit about that recruiting process? And is there any funny story that you can give us that was maybe a foreshadowing of what we're seeing now on the national stage?
Well, when DJ Burns went to Tennessee, and I think I'm right when I say this, I think he was a really young kid and may even graduated a little earlier. So he was a little immature. I can't remember if I recruited him before he went to Tennessee or when he was leaving Tennessee. I think it was before. I think what we're getting is the more mature version of DJ Burns than when he was 5 or 6 years ago. But the one thing that has stayed consistent about him is he's a tremendous personality. I think he's always been that. His mom and dad have done a great job of building a great foundation and surrounding him with great folks. But I don't have a funny story, but the guy's a great personality. He really is. And, it's really helped our team. I think people in Raleigh, people in South Carolina, where he's from, they know DJ Burns, but it's so great to see people on a national level be able to interact with him and really see his true personality.
Just a quick follow-up. Have you seen the walkout videos that have gone viral? And what are your thoughts on that?
I don't have thoughts on it. He is what he is, man. He is, he walks out there and he looks good doing it. So I don't think he should ever stop it. But, now we've got the boom boxes and everything else going on. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Thank you.
Rod Baxley, go ahead.
Kevin, what stood out to you the most, man, since you guys got back from Dallas and have been in Raleigh these last few days?
Well, I think what stood out is what makes me really happy is that we have students on our campus that have never experienced this. And, I was walking around campus yesterday and they were so excited about what our team's doing, so excited about what our ladies are doing. And they just never experienced that. Most of our students can only experience that through what their parents may have told them or maybe even their grandparents. And I think that's the biggest thing. That makes me happy. I mean, this is a proud university with great alumni. But when you see our current students and our players feeling and excited about what's going on, I think that's a great thing.
Thanks, Kevin.
Go ahead, Corey Smith.
Hey, Kevin, I wanted to ask you really quickly about the impact of a guy like Casey Morsell. Obviously, what he's done with this program. I remember back to that Clemson game, him lifting you up and carrying you after that Clemson win. And then, to say that he wanted to get a banner for this program and everything along those lines, now seeing all that come to fruition. But what has he meant to you from a relationship standpoint? And what has he meant to this team being the most experienced player on this roster?
Well, first of all, I love Casey Morsell. I mean, he's a first-class person. And, I'm so grateful that, he came to NC State to play for me. I think I've started him more than anybody I've started in my career. So you know how I feel about him as a basketball player. He's what, a student athlete should be about, just a great person, great ambassador, both on and off the court. He does a good job within our program. And he's kind of, every team has a glue guy, and we can make an argument that Casey's one of our glue guys. Maybe not getting the national attention that, maybe a DJ Burns or a DJ Horn's getting, but the things that he's quietly doing on the court has been so important to our program. I kid him a lot. I talk to him about, Jarkel Joyner coming in and being a better defender than him, and also Jaden Taylor. But I'm telling you, the last 6, 7, 8 games, he's been one of our best defenders. He has done whatever his team needed to help us win.
JC Zimble, go ahead.
Kind of building off of what you said with Casey, with the 3 seniors, this is their COVID year, basically. How much of a huge advantage has it been to see players who have been in college for 5 years and in DJ Burns' case, 6 years?
It's been great, just the experience that these guys have had and they brought to the table. And, for example, all of those guys have found their voice, and that's a great thing. And I think it's great for our locker room to have some older guys that kind of been through different programs, but have come together to make this program successful. And so it's been a blessing. We've only got really one freshman on our team, basically, and Dennis Parker Jr., and to have those three seniors, and then you add guys like Michael O'Connor to the mix of it, and even Ben, those guys have been great. And everybody now is talking. Everybody now has found a voice to help our team and help everyone along.
James Henderson, go ahead.
Kevin, I did want to ask you about Michael as well. Just what does he add as a connective piece for you guys? I mean, he seems like every game, whether it's assists, rebounds, points, some nights, he's giving you something different.
Yeah, you know what? He's one of those guys, James, that probably people doubted and didn't give credit because he's not one of those guys that scored the basketball. And so in college basketball, everything is about how much you score. But when you really look at what he's done for our team, he's allowed other guys to be great. He's allowed, he's a willing passer. He's also been a really good defender for us. But he's the guy that kind of runs the show and gets everybody involved. And the one thing that he's done better now is that, when I walk in at halftime early in the year, you wouldn't hear anything from Michael. Now he's talking. Now he's got a voice. He is coaching as a player, which is always good when your point guard's on the floor. So he's become an extension of our coaching staff opposed to just a point guard that's out there.
Go ahead, Noah.
Coach, I know you're a coach that likes, NIL and the positive things that can come out of it. What has it been like for you the past couple of weeks to see, the two DJs especially kind of take advantage and be able to, get some NIL deals through the success in the tournament?
I think it's great. I think this is exactly what NIL is about. I think it's a wonderful thing, and these guys are fully taking advantage of it. But I will say this, they haven't let it get in the middle of them being really good teammates and, giving everything to their team. But I think when you think about what's going on now, this is the time that, kids get an opportunity to showcase themselves and obviously take advantage of their name, image, and likeness.
Go ahead, David.
Kevin, I think with the possible exception of Marquette, you have outscored every team you've played during this run after halftime. Is it just great adjustments from the head coach, or what's going on there in the locker room?
I just think we're in great shape, and we've always prided ourselves of being in great shape, and it's even more impressive because our rotation's been like 7 and maybe 8 guys, but at halftime it seems like that these guys are coming in, coming back locked in, and our conditioning is really paying off.
Go ahead, Mark Berman.
Yeah, Kevin, I wanted to ask you, looking back at your game back when you were a player, what was it about your game that you wound up at Ferrum, a Division III school, instead of a higher level?
Well, I was playing for the love of the game, Mark. I didn't know if I was going to be a football player or a basketball player, but I decided to go basketball because I got tired of taking free hits. And Bill did a great job recruiting me. Mark, I want you to go back and look this up because you can. My best game at Ferrum was when Bill Pullen got kicked out of the game. I told him the other day, he got kicked out of the game, and I think I had 30 against Maryville. And I told him, I was like, you're the only guy that really ever held me under 20 points was my coach. So we joked about that a little bit. But I have a tremendous respect for anyone who plays really small college basketball because really you're doing it for the love of the game. And that's what I did.
So how good a high school quarterback were you?
I thought I was good. I mean, the only problem is I had, 2 guys in my backfield that rushed for 1,000 yards, so I didn't get a chance to pass it a lot. I was an option quarterback, and my option was either hand it off or I was going to go sit on the bench.
All right, last question. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, I just wanted to ask you, I watched when Louisville played you in the ACC tournament. What was going through your mind at halftime when they were up by 1, and then the game was really tied with 5 minutes to go. How was your team able to not flinch at that point?
Well, we just want to stay the course. If you're a coach, most coaches will tell you that the toughest game of any tournament is typically the first one. Everybody's nervous, everybody's trying to figure it out. And so we wanted to stay the course. I thought Louisville came out and played extremely hard. Sky Clark had a tremendous game against us, but I thought we would just stay the course and focus. I was a little bit nervous because we didn't have DJ Horn and who would step up in his absence, and we had some guys that played well.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Coach Keatts.
Thanks, guys.